All right, welcome back everyone. And after that last thumbnail that we finished, right now I want to show you how I create these specifically and honestly clickbaity thumbnails that are really trendy right now in 2020 and how you can recreate them too. How what's the thought process behind creating all of this, and let's start. So, this is going to be one longer lesson of creating the whole thumbnail from scratch, and this is nothing planned. I'm working on it right now so you would understand how I think and how I create this. So the first thing that I want to do is go to my packs and find a find the background. Basically, you can do the same on Google Images or somewhere. Just search on online Valorant screenshot pack or something like that. So let's go right here. Let's see. Okay, this one is looking really nice, and as I thought, you just stretch it out. I want to make it to look as if he's standing on the ground, so I'm gonna stretch it as much as possible to hide the ground. And it doesn't matter if it gets pixelated, I'm gonna blur it out. So this right here is our starting point. We go to Gaussian blur, we add the same options that I taught you. Gaussian blur, box blur, radial blur. Actually, let's add less of a radial blur because I want the blur to look more natural. And I'm gonna go to Gaussian blur, add less of it. Alright, so right now it's looking way more natural. The next thing that I want to do is add our character, and let's go to thumbnails. Actually, I want to go to renders. I have some renders from my Blender, and I'm going to be creating tutorials, courses on that too, so just stay tuned. Follow the Skillshare profile, and let me just find the renders. Here they are. Let's use this one. Alright, so let me just position him. Somewhere around here. To seem as if he's trying to throw it upwards, you know? Let's rotate him a bit more because, as you can see, the arrow should be going like this. I want to go to this side. Alright, so we got our character here. I want to color grade him a bit because it seems like the background is not matching to him. So maybe a bit more yellow because he's on the sun daylight. More exposure, more contrast, highlights increase, shadows decrease, whites increase, blacks decrease, texture, clarity, dehaze. Voila. And I want to do same to my background. I want to make it look more cinematic. A bit yellow, some exposure up, a lot of contrast, increase the highlights, drop the shadows, whites, blacks, textures. It depends if I want to add clarity because it's going to remove some of the blur. A bit of dehaze actually, decrease a bit of the yellow, and there we go. Okay, so right now I want to add color balance because it seems to me as if I added a lot of the yellow, so this made the shot a bit more natural. Just decrease this a bit. Alright, this made it shot more natural because it was really yellow before. So right now we got our character right here. What I want to do is add our thumbnail pack because in our thumbnail pack I have a arrow that I want to use. Let's just find it. Arrows, it's right here. Copy, paste, reveal it. I'm going to use it later on to point towards the arrow that's going to be coming out of here and on the text. So the text is going to be here, the arrow is going to be firing here. Let me flip this. Let me stretch it out a bit. The arrow is going to be here. The text is going to be here. I think this is going to be good. And right now we need to find an arrow. If I remember well, I downloaded one from Google Images. So let's just look for it. When it comes to organizing, I'm the worst person for that. So that's something you should not be learning from me, how to organize. Nope, it's not this. Let's just actually download it again so you don't wait. Go to Google Images, arrow PNG. We need to search bow and arrow. So it finds a realistic arrow, you know. This is the exact same one that I've used, I think. Hit the free download. We're on a site with free PNGs. It's downloading. We got it. We can turn this all off. Go to downloads. It's right here. What I want to do right now is decrease the size of it. Flip it so it seems like it came out of here. And as you can see, it's not looking natural. It seems like it's going like this, and it should be going like this, like to the wall. The way we're going to do that is with the warp by holding control and moving options, as I taught you, if you remember. So this looks way better. What I want to do now is increase the size of it. And I want to add motion blur so it would seem as if it's moving. So I need to hit actually the angle of it. And yup, this seems nice. What I can also do is go to blending options, outer glow, and make it blue a bit, because this character from Valorant shoots electric blue arrows, so it seems more realistic. What I can also do is Alt and drag up this thing and go to blending options, color overlay, select a blue color, then go right here, go to linear dodge add, and take this blur icon, blur this out and drop the opacity of it to make it look more blue. What I can also do is blur, Gaussian blur, and see if it's going to fix up anything, maybe just a bit, you know. Filter, blur, radial blur, and we made it more blue. What I want to do now is add the text. What I forgot to tell you is I wanted to turn this red. So how are we going to do that is by selecting our arrow, going right here to hue and saturation, clipping it right here and changing the color to red, to something like this, red, increasing the saturation and dropping down the light. We made ourselves a red arrow now. So what I want to do right now is click on the text, go all the way up and click right here, type in 200 IQ. Drop this to white and decrease the size of it. We'll see how big we want this to look. So go right here, change this up a bit to the side. We can actually decrease the size of this because it's annoying from how big it is. Just like that. So what I want to do right now when I have my text is the next thing. What I'm going to do is go underneath it, so everything I create appears underneath. Take this pen tool and this is the thing that I'm gonna create. As you can see, we created a little bit path, a little pointer, which is really popular nowadays in thumbnails. So what I want to do is right click it and fill path with color, click OK, and oh, we forgot to add a new layer. See, mistake right away. So new layer, color, and it's gonna ask us which color. We take red. Maybe a bit softer, it doesn't matter, just take red. And once we have that red, what we can do is go right here and adjust this thing. You can now clear the path, you know, you don't need it anymore. Just drag it up a bit. And what I want to do right now is drag this down and hold Alt and drag it down to copy it. Go blending options, color overlay, make it white, click OK, and right now hold Shift and drag out the sides as much as you would like. So as you can see, this is that popular arrow thing that everyone creates now in thumbnails. What we can do right now is group this, call it the pointer, and increase its size, get it up here. Right now I want to create a good looking text, and there's actually a really popular text. Let me just add drop shadow to this, make it black, distance, this angle, spread size, drop the opacity, distance. All right, so there's actually a really popular text that you can create. Look how you're gonna do it. So 200 IQ, let's say place, big letters. Here's what I want to do right now. I'm going to hover over this, go right here, go to yellow. Let's see. Okay, right here. I'm going to do this. And the next thing that I want to do is hold Alt and drag this downwards. Then zoom in, hold Shift and drag it downwards. And once it's here, click OK. Go right here, blending options, or you can just double click this, go to colors, select this one, and go with something like this. Okay, and right now we're going to resize it to make it fit better. Alright, so this is our text. What we want to do right now is go to the first text and go blending options, go to bevel and emboss, and drag this angle all the way up. Right now what I want to do is hold this depth all the way up and take size down to about 2 or 3. We're not going to be using any soften because we want sharp edges for the light. Let's see, highlight mode, we can change that to normal, bring up the opacity to whichever one you desire. Shadows, we can even turn that off, it's up to you. There's not much of shadows honestly because we drag this angle all the way up and the size is not that big. So this should be it, and we can also drop a bit of shadow, but I want to diffuse it just like this. Click OK, and what I want to do right now is right click the layer underneath and add a stroke. And if we increase the stroke, what I realized is we separated the down text really high up from the other one, and right now when we use the stroke, when we increase the size, it's going to look way more natural. But what you can also do for this is drop the shadow, and you will have honestly more options, but it's up to you. And that's our good looking text. We can group it up of text, take it and increase the size, drop it like this to match this, and let's drop the shadow on the overall thing. Distance, I'm not going to add any distance because I want the shadow to appear a bit on the pointer. And this right here is our thumbnail. What we can also do is go down right here and add the Naruto, the anime stripes that everyone likes in their thumbnails. So just drag them out so they're not really drastic, Go normal, change it to screen for the blending right here to remove the black, drop down a bit of the opacity so they're not that noticeable because we don't want them to be harsh. And yep, this is our thumbnail. So don't forget, as I always say, to hold Control Shift Alt and click E to gather up everything into one layer. Control Shift A and go to Camera Raw Filter. When clicking that, here we go, my PC was bugging out. So maybe add a bit of yellow. Maybe do we drop down the exposure to about -10? Add contrast, highlights, shadows, as you know, whites, blacks, textures, clarity, dehaze, add a bit of vibrance, and to be honest, add a bit of sharpening, and that should be it. We don't need to add nothing else, I think. Hover between the before and after, it looks quite amazing actually. And if we press OK, this is how we create a clickbaity thumbnail for our latest video. So basically my point here, what I wanted to show you is how to achieve these trendy thumbnails with these stripes with a trendy text. You can use whichever one you want, this one or the one that I showed you in our last thumbnail. How to create this pointer arrow thing right here, which a lot of today's thumbnails have. How to work with arrows, how to change colors, how to make a shot more realistic, and how to create three dimension, the depth of field between the background and our subject with blur. And that's how you create a clickbaity, trendy 2020 year thumbnail. So thank you for having me here. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something new. And if you did, make sure you stick around because I will be breaking down more of my stuff, and so you can learn and keep expanding your knowledge and keep learning new things and new trends for thumbnails, so your videos could get more traction, or if you're a designer, so you could get more job opportunities. So stick around and thank you for having me here. I'm out.